Hi there, it's me, Annalisa Boyd, Orthodox Christian wife, mom to 8, bread baker, candy maker, self-proclaimed doula, accidental midwife, and the author of The Ascetic Lives of Mothers, Hear Me, and Special Agents of Christ, author of Ancient Faith Publishing. Now today I'm going to talk about adoption. We have done foster care for the last 11 years, and during that time we've had 33 children in our home, and we have adopted 5 boys. I always do that when I say 5 boys, because that's a lot of boys. That's a lot of testosterone in one home, let me just tell you. But it has been a blessing and a challenge and a huge learning experience on so many different levels. And even with the challenges and difficulties, I would not change it for the world. But if you are considering adoption, there are some things that I think you should know and some real questions you should ask yourself before you decide to begin this adventure. Now, of course, you do not need to know all the answers. You don't need to know how to do everything right and perfectly to become foster parents or adoptive parents. But you do need to ask yourself some real questions about whether or not there are certain things you can handle or not. And be really honest with yourselves. Because on the one hand, especially as moms, I think, we can see, somebody just posted a call for help for a sibling group of 4. So there are 4 kids who are needing a home from somewhere. I think the oldest is 8 or 9, and the youngest is like an 8-month-old baby. And so we see these pictures and we immediately think, I'll take them. No questions asked. We'll just do it. We can make this happen. How hard could it be? So here are the main questions that you need to ask yourself. Number 1, are you okay if the child that you bring into your home never loves you? Can never say they love you, can never treat you as if they love you, and possibly resent you for the rest of their lives because you said yes to adoption. So that's the first one. Can you live with that? Or do you need them to be able to love you back? A lot of times they do love you back, but sometimes it is so hard to process for them. It's so hard to process the hurt that they've experienced, even if they have been in your home since day 1 of their life. Knowing that they're adopted can be something that becomes something that's too hard for them to handle or to interpret. And it's not your fault, but you may never get that I love you from them. You may never get a cuddle from them. You may always be looked at as the person who ruined their lives, even though rationally you know that's not true. And they know that's not true. But it's less painful to blame than it is to accept what may have happened or what caused them to not be with their birth family. So can you handle rejection and not being told that you're loved? That's number 1. Number 2, how are you with investment? Are you okay with having a child that may have absolutely nothing in common with you and may not want to receive what you have to offer? That's in there with the rejection thing, but it's just a little different. Not wanting to receive what you have to offer. Are you willing to pour yourself into what seems like a vessel with a hole in it? Again, this isn't every child, but it is something that we definitely run into with our adopted kids because they have a lot of hurts. They have a lot of really bad things that happen to them. Number 1 being that they are no longer with their family of origin. And even though we know that we are not putting cigarettes out on them or throwing them against the wall, or depriving them of food, or allowing them to be sexually violated by somebody that we've invited into our home. Even though we are protecting them from those things, there is still something so deep within a child that desires to be with their birth family that it can make us feel really, really rotten. So if you have to ask yourself, can you be okay with that? Can you? It's a hard question. If this is something that you think you can be okay with, then it might be reasonable for you to look into doing foster care or adoption. There is baggage that comes. There are things that we have to figure out with our biological children. For example, when my eldest daughter turned 8, I cried. 9. When she turned 9, I cried because she had had a dad longer than I did. I didn't know that was going to come up. I didn't know that that was something that was in my little girl heart, still tucked deep, deep, deep down inside. But it was there. I didn't take it out on her, and I wasn't angry with her. But it was something that I had to recognize and kind of come to grips with. And there are a lot of things in these kids' lives that they're really not in control of. They can act a certain way. They can learn to be kind or calm or a number of different things. But some of them can't because they have other cognitive things going on, cognitive delays, or certain things were affected in the growth process because there was drug exposure or alcohol exposure or physical violence. The mom was super depressed, and so all these hormones were released going through the baby. The baby was experiencing these highs and lows also. So are you willing, you have to ask yourself, to take whatever comes? Are you willing to let go of all of your dreams and ideas of what this parenting relationship might look like and take whatever there is? If you are, look into becoming a foster parent or adoptive parent. Now, it isn't all bad. There have been some wonderful, 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 amazing, amazing days. We don't have the days where, every day is not a day where we're discouraged or upset or going through hard times. There have been things that have helped shape our family in a way that I don't think anything else could. All of the children, bio and adopted, have been exposed to a lot of different children going through a lot of different things, and they have learned compassion. Or I've seen my adopted guys come to the aid of somebody who's feeling discouraged or depressed because they know what it's like to feel discouraged and depressed. And that has been such a special thing. We have learned and are learning, and fail all the time at learning, we are learning to look at parenting differently. There are 2 people that I recommend highly, whether you have foster kids, adopted kids, or bio kids, and you will never have foster or adopted kids. I wish I had known these things long, long ago. The first one is Brian Post. He is fantastic. His approach to parenting is very smart, in my opinion. And it really is what I have always wanted my parenting to be. And that is touching the heart of my child. So kind of, because a lot of us, we just react instead of respond to our kids. And so his methods help to weed through our reaction and help us to address the heart and not get caught up with all the weeds and everything of okay, well, I have to show you that I'm right, and you need to know right and wrong, and you need to know it this way. He gives a lot of real practical advice on how to approach things in a way that's going to make more sense to you as a parent and to your kids, which is really, really good. The other person that I highly recommend is Karen Purvis. She is very soft-spoken, but she too comes at parenting in a very, very, very healthy way. So whether you are uh, um, whether you have foster adoptive kids or bio kids or no kids and you're planning on having kids, I highly recommend these two people. A lot of our adopted kids also do come with bonus features. So that's the other thing that you need to ask yourself. Are you willing to deal with bonus features? And for some people, it's one thing when you have bio kids and they come with bonus features because you're like, well, this is my own DNA and maybe I caused this or something. But sometimes we can't wrap our heads around putting so much effort into quote unquote somebody else's kid. Because it is. These are somebody else's children, but they are also our children. So are you able to reconcile that? So the process to adoption in the counties that we've participated in, we've been in California and we've been in Colorado, and our experiences have been roughly the same. Every state's going to be different and have a different way of doing it. So it's important for you to contact your Department of Human Services and find out exactly what the expectations are, what they're looking for, what the needs are, and go from there. They usually have informational classes, so you can go and you can ask questions, and just from the get-go, before you even decide to climb in the pool, you can get an idea of what you are considering saying yes to. And that is a great place to start. You're usually required to have a child in your home for 6 months before they will look at you for adoption. And that way, it really gives you and the child an opportunity to see if this is something that's really going to work before you make a lifelong commitment. And I mean, we're not trying out kids or anything like that, but it does give you an idea. And you might go, oh, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. I really don't think this is something I can say yes to. Or you may say, okay, there have been some roller coaster rides, but I'm in. I think we can do this. So, and you never know. You never know how you're going to respond to these kinds of situations. So it's kind of a built-in protection plan for both of you, for the child and for the potential adoptive family. The other part was after the parental rights were terminated. This is how it worked for us. It took about 2.5, 3 months before we were in court for our adoption day. So that was another 2 or 3 months in addition to that first 6 months. And for most of our kids, we had them at least a year before an adoption was finalized. But all of that gives time, and they're also supposed to provide you with information about the family history, medical history, if the child had been drug exposed or not drug exposed, if there had been domestic violence or not, whatever they can find out and disclose to you. So you are going into this process with your eyes open. And that is the biggest thing. Going in with your eyes open, with an open mind and willingness to be a giver of love for the child that you welcome into your home, without it possibly ever being reciprocated. And that is a picture of what God does for us all the time. For all humans, He loves us unconditionally. And how many of us, or how many in humankind, don't give Him the time of day? And yet He loves us. So if we can approach our parenting of our bio kids and our adoptive kids that way, that unconditional love, without this need for it to be reciprocated, if we can be okay with that, then I think there is a great, great chance of success. So I like to mention Saint Sophia, the mother of orphans, who is not the same Sophia as Saint Sophia, Mothers to Faith, Hope, and Charity, or Faith, Hope, and Love. But this Faith, she had 6 biological children. All 6 of her children and her husband died of illness. She prayed that the Lord would take her too, and he didn't, but he brought her children. And she adopted about 100 children and educated them and was their mom. And so she is a wonderful, wonderful saint to ask for prayers about this. For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, these are sons of God. For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ, if indeed we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. Romans 8:14 through 17. So, dear mamas, really prayerfully consider if this is something that God wants you to do. Talk to your priest. Talk to as many people as you can who have gone through this process. And until we meet next time, let's keep on working at our salvation, one mama moment at a time. Thanks.